1, 2, 3, 4. Believe yourself. You can't speak for nobody else. Believe in your dream. There's nothing you cannot achieve. Believe. I do
Good afternoon, kings and queens, and welcome to Believe in Yourself Tuesday. I'm your host, Lakina Fulks. Often when people ask me what I do, I pause for a moment because it's hard to answer the question with a short answer. Like many people, I have a lot on my plate. I have started off doing real estate, but through the years, my gifts have stretched me to many different areas. So now instead of saying I'm a realtor, I am also a business coach, motivational speaker. I run a nonprofit organization called The Treasure Within, and now a talk show host. And why am I saying all of this? Well, it's not to bore you with my many different career titles, but to emphasize the importance of not limiting yourself. As you step into your passions, you'll be surprised with what you'll see that's inside of you that'll start to come out. With wisdom and faith, your gifts will start to make room for you, and your outlook will start to become more limitless. Well, my guest today is one of those people that definitely can't be put in one box. His talent has taken him to many different platforms, and I am so excited today to welcome my guest, Danneyboy King.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome, Danneyboy King, to Believe in Yourself Tuesday.
Yes, oh my God, I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yes, thank you. So, when people ask, what do you do? How do you answer them? What do you say?
I tell them I sell food stamps, I sell Nikes out the trunk. No, what I do, I tell them I'm just literally multi-talented. It's just so much, when God gives you the ability to do so much. Yeah. It's just like, I'm a minister. God gave me my own jewelry line. I love planning events. Some people call me a spiritual advisor. So I just do so much. It's like, okay, God, thank you for these multiple gifts.
Yes. Man of many talents and gifts.
Truly,
awesome.
Truly.
What do you enjoy best about all that you do?
What do I enjoy best? Being a mouthpiece for God. Okay. I love being able to empower people. That is literally my ministry. That is literally my purpose, is to empower people in all that I do. One thing I love, even when God told me about the jury, he said this was just a segue to go into other places. So, when I started doing the jury, a lot of celebrities and people started loving the jury, so they start wearing it. So God said, okay, start praying over the bracelets that you start making. I start praying over it, and then they'd be like, oh, there's something about this bracelet. And then we'll start talking about God, and it will lead into a conversation where they'd be like, let's exchange numbers. Can you pray for me? So, it'd be that type of thing. Or people, we'll talk about events. And then when we talk about events, it goes to, okay, and you should do this empowerment event. That jumps into something with ministry. So I love being a mouthpiece for God and being able just to share and enlighten people with whatever God shares with me about their event or their life or whatever. So that's very fun to me.
Wow, that's great. So I know you've done some work with the Housewives of Atlanta.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, Jesus. So the Housewives of Atlanta, actually my god sister, Drew Sedora. She's the new housewife. I remember I was going through one of the worst storms in my life. I was living in Warren, Michigan. And God had a prophet, Fred Bram, that tell me, God said, where you living at, it's going to go flatline. I said, okay, hold on. Like, when? Can you give me some time? Literally, I say about 3-4 months later, the house, like, I had to move and leave the home. And so I moved to Chicago with Drew, and they needed help. So I went there with them to help them. And I got there, and I said, God says we're moving to Atlanta. They was like, what? You crazy. I said, no, I heard God said we're moving to Atlanta. And literally like a week later, Atlanta housewife called her and said, we need you in Atlanta. We want you to be a new housewife. So we moved, went out that way, but I had to come back to Detroit because I got sick. Okay. And God released me to go back out there. But being on the show, it was a lot. Reality TV could be something totally different. You be like, what? Like, what the Waka Flocka Flame is this? Right. But I went on that show, and everybody knows that they start talking about I took a young lady to church because, like I said, I'm a believer. Hey, I'm gonna take you to church or whatever. Right. But the producers kind of turned it. It was like, okay, he's a traitor. He's hanging with a new wife. I said, well, we was off the cameras. I took her to church because she ain't been to church in 10 years, and I did that. But it got messy and. A colleague in the gospel, was flirting with a woman, and I told her to stop, but he got mad and told me I was a false prophet, and then it came out that he was doing what he was doing. Right. And then it came on television like I was this lying person, and it hurt me because I said, God, I don't need nobody to look at me like I just lied about something. No, I knew what I saw, and it came out what I saw, and so I was like, okay, God, he's told me. It was so crazy because God said, don't fight against it. Because I was ready to put up pictures and stuff, be like, Lord, this is the truth. This is what I got, the evidence. But God said, don't do it, son. He said, because vengeance is mine. And that was the first time because I can be the king of petty. Right. Since I can be the king of petty, we still working on that deliverance part of being petty. But it was an awesome experience no matter what, because God allowed me to still minister to so many people. There's so many people that write me off of the show, be like, Daniel, thank you for taking that girl to church. We don't care what happened, but because you was a believer and you took her to church anyway, that is a big. And so I love doing what I do. Oh, wow. If I can bring anybody to Christ, that's just it. I love that.
Yes. Now, will you be in season 14?
It's looking like a lot of good stuff is going to come, and so I don't know everything, but one thing I will say, what God has for me is going to be for me. So no matter what, season 14, 13, you can put me back in season 20, whatever season you want to put me on. Right. Just put me on to Jesus, and Lord, bring a check with it so that I can be paid for this time. But yeah, so it's a lot of great things coming out.
Okay, and now you have a talk show as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, the GMP talk show. That show was birthed years ago. It's a show. God showed me. He said, "You gonna be like the male Oprah Winfrey." I was like, God, I can be that. He was like, yeah, but on a different level. But he showed me to do a show with young people can come and have a platform to tell their story, because we all have issues. Yes. I was a liar. I stole before. I did a lot of stuff as a kid, but no one understood why. I just wanted attention. So sometimes you just need somebody that can help tell your story in a positive way with other people that dealt with the same thing. You may not have stole, but you lied before. You may not have lied, but you done did this or did that. So that's what that platform is for, to bring a lot of young believers together, not even believers, the people in the street, whoever, to be able to tell their story and be able to just be themselves. And so God gave me that about 4 years ago. And so he came, and I was sleeping in a dream, and he said, it's time for you to go back and awaken that vision. I said, okay, God. So that's what we're in the middle of doing now, is getting all the things together for the show to come back out.
Okay, and what's the name of the show
It's
again?
called the GNP Talk Show, Generation Next Plus. So it's this generation, the next generation, and the ones to come. We're going to be able to share all their stories. Like, for one, I have a young lady that's coming who is so crazy that she was raped. But she was raped by her father. And the mother didn't believe in abortions. So she had the baby. So now the baby is this man's grandchild as well as child. And she, he's dead and gone now, but she's sharing her story and how it hurt her. But because of what people say it in a religious way, like, you better not have an abortion. She kept the baby, and sometimes it does torment her.
Right.
And so, it's a lot of things, the stories. A young lady that I know got shot in the head and literally survived it. So I got a lot of great people to tell their stories. Young men that robbed liquor stores and went to jail for a long time, but they didn't know he was homeless and all he wanted to do was eat. And sometimes people don't just give money. They say, let a young man say, let me have some money. They go think it's automatic for drugs.
Right.
They don't know that there's some people that I don't care what, because I was homeless before. And I looked good being homeless, but I was really homeless. And me asking somebody, be like, boy, you got these shoes. I'm like, hey, look, don't let this fool you. I'm really homeless. And, people don't always want to give to that. But, I was really dealing with a crazy situation in my life at that time. But I realized that you just don't know no one's story for real. Yeah. And it's time for people to be able to share their stories.
Yeah. So, Danny, before the Real Housewives of Atlanta and everything that you accomplished so far, what do you remember being the first thing you did and where you had to step out on your passion?
Wow, Jesus. So before I even got on the show,
yeah,
what was the first thing I did? Oh, well, I remember it was years ago. I've always wanted to do a conference. I was like, okay, God, it wasn't that I wanted to do it because I want a lot of people to come and it'd be like a mega fest type of thing. But it was like, I just want to bring a bunch of young people together and like where we can empower each other. And I remember when I was homeless, I did my first conference and it was called Phenomenal Me. Wow. And that conference stood for being phenomenal no matter what you've been through. So I would say this, some people probably feel like, okay, Dan, you're crazy for saying that. I believe even a rapist is phenomenal. Even a drug addict is phenomenal. No one that God has placed on this earth is like, okay, you're a deadbeat. No. Everyone that's on this earth has a gift. Now, if we don't use our gift, that's that. But we all have purpose. We all have something. Sometimes we stray away from it and we have issues. We don't know what. But God says, do this conference and name it Phenomenal Me to let them know no matter what you've been through, you're still phenomenal. All you got to do is get back up and dust yourself off and get back in the race. Wow, and so actually this year will be 10 years doing that conference. And I was homeless, no money, taking a bus to the church. My first year doing that, I probably had about like 200 people that showed up. I was shocked. I was like, okay, where they come from? But it was just awesome that God would put something like that in me, even in a rough season of my life. So that was like one of my, oh my God moments. Like this has been my baby, because even doing the conference, there's several times where I tried to commit suicide right after it. And because I was just hurting from different pressure, or, because you're a woman of God too. So I know you know this. Sometimes in ministry, when we minister to other people, we get to a place, whatever they carrying, we pull that because we bring in deliverance to them. So sometimes what we've taken out of them, it can jump on us, especially if you don't have the right team praying for you and covering you while you're covering others. And so sometimes it was off of doing that and deliverance with other, or sometimes it was just because I was really dealing with self. But God allowed me to been running along with this conference for 10 years.
10 years, that's amazing. So you are a phenomenal king.
Yes, thank you.
That is amazing.
I'm excited.
Yeah, so congratulations on that. And
Thank
was
you.
it hard believing in yourself during that whole time, even up to now?
It was, because sometimes you feel like, okay, God, do they like me? Do people like me? Or, sometimes you feel like people don't show up because they think they heard something. Or, I had two beautiful daughters out of wedlock by the same mother. Some people thought about that, and because I've been preaching since I was 10. Okay. So this year would make 20 years of me preaching. Wow. And I was like, good God, that's a number. Like, was I bootlegging it that long? But with no license, just like, cause let me tell you something. You don't gotta have no license to minister in the street. I'm sorry, you're who you are. Yeah. I think sometimes we get so caught up in titles and things that just, well, if I don't have the ministerial title, that I'm not a minister. No, you was born on this earth to minister. Mm-hmm. I don't care who you are. You are a minister, yes, and you're a mouthpiece. Yes. But so yeah, it was always like a scary type of thing, because when you have a past, it don't matter what your past is. Sometimes people just hold your past. Mm-hmm. You could have just been an ex-liar. You could have just maybe mistaken, did somebody credit wrong or did somebody taxes wrong, and they'll use that against you until the day you die. Yeah. You'd be like, well, I told you I'm sorry, I done repented for it, and you still hold me against that one thing. And so I've learned not to care about what people think about me. I've graduated that class. Like, don't care about what people think about you. Know what do you think about yourself?
Yeah.
And that's what I realized, because even being a young man without a father, there's a lot of things I had to learn on myself. I had to learn by myself, single mom, so she can only do so much. So, and then dealing with rejection with that because she was a kid having me. Yeah. So it's like some things I had to learn myself. And sometimes being out there on the street, being homeless and living in, going to shelters and things, it taught me a lot because my ministry started in the shelters. Wow. I would get on the bus and be preaching to people on the bus. And they came to church, like literally. And about 4 months, if you go back to my home church, they have it on record. In 4 months, I brought over 400 people. They was like, okay, this boy is really out there doing it. And then later in the road, I got lazy and just stopped because I felt like, God, am I even good enough? And, sometimes you go through those seasons. So you got to get yourself, have great people around you that can speak over your life and say, no, you keep going. I don't care what it is, keep going. So.
Wow, you're quite the evangelist. 100 people in
yes.
4 months.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, ma'am.
So what would you say would be your greatest motivation or inspiration?
It would be just seeing people happy. Knowing that a word that God has given me to decree or declare over somebody's life has came to pass. That makes me happy, like literally.
Yeah.
Like I would go without just to make sure somebody else have. Like I've always been that type of person. Like I love to help and just see people accomplish what they want, or so it's just like that just does something for me, because when you've been that person that didn't have that support, you want to be that support for everybody else. Yeah. You're like, let me support you, let me do what I can do to help you. So that just lightens me up to see that with other people. It really lights me up.
That's awesome.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
You have a book coming out. Tell us a little bit about the book and when it's coming out.
So this book is, oh my God, it's a phenomenal book. The name of the book, I'll release it. It's called Touch Me Where It Hurts. Okay. Oh my God, I can't wait till the graphics and everything get done, because it's a really, I said this example to someone. I said, women, y'all have that time of the month where y'all bleed out. Mm-hmm. We have times that we don't bleed out, but we bleed within. And there's some times that I've been bleeding. I was preaching while bleeding. And some things within, and I didn't have the release of it. It was stuck inside of me. So I'm like, God, I done went to all the churches to get help. I done went to this deliverance class, but God, I need you to touch me where it's hurt, because I'm dealing with some inner things that everybody don't see. So can you please touch me where I'm at? Because I saw my God showed me a picture of me being on like a shelf. Like if you go into like a library, they always have that encasing thing in the middle of the floor to show something that's very priceless or something. Yeah. They cover it in a little shield. God showed me, he said, I'm putting you in that. But I said, God, and I just kept seeing people walk past and they looked at it. It was like, oh wow, that's great. That's a nice statue. That's a nice item. But no one knew that item been dropped. It's dusty sometimes. It has little scars on that you don't see because we polish things up. So people look at me like, okay, yeah, you're doing this, or you prophesy, you did this, but they don't understand that I'm still broken inside sometimes, that I was preaching while bleeding. And so this book talks about everything, how I was molested at the age of 6. It hurt me. Like, that was like probably one of the most because, when you tell people that you've been touched, they automatically say, oh, so you gay. Right. I've dealt with that. I dealt with just a lot, and it used to break me down, because it's like, God, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to be touched. And so, telling people that you've been touched, even in dating scenes, is, you tell somebody that you've been touched, like, are you this and that? And you'd be like, well, dang, no, I've been delivered from that, but I'm giving you something that I'm most vulnerable about and that I don't like to talk about, but I'm telling you my truth. And that was a very hurtful thing. But to go through that, and when I went through that, for the people to lie and say they didn't do it and went back, I just went through so much, and I wanted to commit suicide. So this book talks about all of that, the rejection of it, not understanding how to just deal. Didn't tell my mom until I was like 17, because I didn't know how to talk about it. Because sometimes I don't like to see people get in trouble, so I didn't know what my mama would have did to them, so I didn't want to tell. Because because I didn't like, sometimes when you got to face the accuser, it's like, oh, Jesus, how do I? And you sit there, it's like they can look at you with their eyes and just make you be like, I don't know. You don't want to look at them because it's like, I don't want them to make me feel some type of way while I'm in the room telling my side.
Right.
So I didn't like that. So that was like a thing that I was like, okay, God, how do I do this? So without being able to talk, that's what the title came, Touch Me Where It Hurts.
Wow. So is it like an autobiography or like a novel?
It's going to be one of, I ain't finished high school, so it's one of them type of books you just said. It's but no, I am going to do it in an auto way because I wanted to tell like a dramatic story of it.
Okay.
And then I'm also doing a documentary about it.
Okay.
So you're going to see a lot of stuff that I talked about and what I've done, and have other people that know me since a kid to tell whatever. I don't care how ugly it is that they say. I want them to tell what they feel, and then I tell my side, because sometimes you can put two stories together, and a person can see it this way, and then when you tell your side, that person sees something different, and you see something different, and they'll look like, oh wow.
Yeah.
If I would have just asked you then, I would have known this. Right. So it wasn't that you was a bad child. You was a child that was just missing the love that you needed. Because sometimes people just missing love. It's not that these kids are bad. They're just missing that love and that one-on-one connection. Yeah. And as being a child, the only child, that was something I dealt with a lot, is being lonely. Wow. In a room full of people.
Wow.
Room full of people, still feeling lonely.
Wow.
That's why I need God to touch me where it hurt. Because sometimes I still deal with that.
Yeah.
Like, God, I feel so lonely.
Yeah.
Like I'm driving down, I see all these other cars on the road. But as I drive, I don't mentally see these cars.
Wow. And this book is going to help so many other people and free them. And it's very brave of you to come out with such things. Most people, they'll go to the grave with such things that has happened to them and just keep it to themselves.
Yes.
So that's, I commend you on, putting
you.
your story out there. And I know it's going to help a lot of people.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I just want to also, your book, when is it expected to come out?
So we're trying to get it out by February the 15th of 2022.
Okay.
But it may be released before then. But yeah, we're really taking our time on this book because it's so heavy. When you have something that God is doing, you don't want to rush it because it's so much detail. And I feel like this is going to be a book that tells a lot of people's story and help them speak up, because sometimes we don't speak up because of the fear. Of what it's going to do. Like, I'm now, people that don't know my story are about to hear my story on like, okay, wow, what do you do? When people that you never experienced before really read that, okay, wow, he really went through this. So you're nervous about what people go think about you once you tell your full story. I'm telling everything. Wow. I don't care if I stole a dog from PetSmart. I'm telling that. I stole some candy from Kroger's a couple times. I'm telling everything. It's a tell-all, because what this book told me to do, what God told me to do about this book, he said tell all, because then they won't be able to hold you to nothing.
Wow.
So once I say it on myself, I don't care what you say about me afterwards, because I've told the world. So you can try to hold up connections. You can try to tell people don't work with me. It doesn't matter what you say to people. And if they believe it, thank God they do. That means you was never for me. But I'll tell on myself, so you can't use it against me. It's my story. Let me tell it.
Wow. That's another book. It's my story.
It's my story. Let me tell. Girl,
Wow.
I'm about to write that. Jesus. Let me not do too much moving. I don't want to break this chair.
Such a comedian.
We'd be all on the floor. They'd be like, call 911. He's on the floor.
Well, Danneyboy King, it has been a pleasure
Thank
talking with you. And, I commend you on your book and all the things that you're doing. And congratulations on your success.
Thank you
just
so much.
tell our audience how they connect with you on social media. And then also leave them with something of inspiration about believing in themselves.
Yes, so you can connect with me on Instagram at Danneyboy King, or Danneyboy K on Instagram. That's DANNEYBOYK. Facebook, Danneyboy King. And what would I say? You want to tell you, I allowed the opinions of so many people to dictate my future at first. I look at myself today, like, because I was really a smaller person, but I started, due to depression, I started eating and eating and eating. And after I started doing all that, I started not liking what I look like. Sometimes we allow people's opinions to change our identity. Do not allow no one to change your identity or who you are in God. God has placed you on this earth to be you, to be the phenomenal you. Stay phenomenal. Believe in yourself and know that no matter what you go through, God's way will always stand.
Well, thank you, Danneyboy King, for joining us again.
So welcome.
Yes, and thank you, kings and queens, for watching the show today. And I just want to encourage you that everything you need is inside of you. Explore those gifts and talents that you have inside of you. And remember, everything you need is right there inside of you. All you have to do is believe in yourself.